endorsing the president's position on Iraq. Did you believe ever that Saddam Hussein, when you had to cast that vote to authorize the war in Iraq, did you ever believe that Saddam Hussein had nuclear weapons?
I did.
Who told you?
Well, I know at the end of the Clinton administration, there was a very strong sense that he was reconstituting his nuclear weapons program. And I like to remind people that at the end of the 90s, there was a sense of the Congress passed that my opponent, Bernie Sanders, voted for, basically talking about regime change in Iraq because of the threat of potentially nuclear, biological.
That was neocon stuff.
Well, Bernie Sanders voted for it.
I don't know why he did.
Well, Chris, I'm just telling you that that was the prevailing opinion. And what, look, I've said it was a mistake because. No,
and I want to know about the facts, because if you were told by somebody that he had nuclear weapons, they weren't telling the truth. Because Mike Morrell, who's the chief CIA briefer on this subject, told me on my show that they never told anybody, because he said we had no evidence they had nuclear weapons. So who, if it wasn't the CIA, told you they had nuclear weapons?
Well, what was going on was a continuing intensive inspection program. Hans Blix, remember Hans Blix?
I remember it all.
And Hans Blix and his team of inspectors were trying to get to the bottom of this. Now, here's what was misleading, is that Saddam Hussein could have ended it immediately. He could have said, come anywhere, look anywhere, we have nothing. But he didn't choose to do that. And so the inspectors were racing to get to all the sites that they were worried. Because remember, at the end of the first Gulf War, we did find evidence of a nuclear weapons program. Then we had a number of years where we were flying a no-fly zone over Iraq, and where we saw him diverting a lot of money into not just building palaces, but building, we thought, programs.
Dick Cheney's all over the country back in the fall of 2002 saying Saddam has nuclear weapons. Not a nuclear weapons program, nuclear weapons, even though the CIA never told him that. The question is Donald Trump right when he said they lied?
Well, I think that what Mike Hayden and others have said is that it was an intelligence failure. Now, I don't know.
No, but they never said they had nuclear weapons. How could it be a failure?
Well, they led some people to believe that.
Yeah, but not with evidence. But not with evidence. You didn't have evidence they had nuclear weapons, did you?
What we had was let me speak for myself.
You never had evidence of nuclear weapons?
No, but that was because the inspection program had not been completed. And where I stood, I believed George W. Bush when he said, we are going to let the inspectors finish the job. This vote will give me the leverage, he claimed, to make sure that happens. Read Hans Blix's book.
Why did you trust W?
Well, I thought that using diplomacy, which is what it seemed to me he was offering, made a lot of sense.
Did he seem the diplomatic type, W?
He seemed to be someone who, in my opinion, at least rhetorically, that speech he gave in Cincinnati was aimed at saying, we're going to let the inspectors finish. Now, he didn't let the inspectors finish. And that's where I made a mistake, because if he had let the inspectors finish, what Blix and others argue is they would have been able to prove to the world. So if there had been any doubt, whether manufactured or believed, it would have been ended. And that's why, I've said repeatedly it was a mistake for me to
Why was
give him that
Bernie
vote.
Sanders right and you were wrong? What do you think was in him that allowed him to see what you couldn't see?
Well, I don't know, because he voted, as I said, for the regime change resolution.
Well,
by the time, well, it was only a few.
It was rhetorical.
It was only a few years earlier. And, look, that was a mistake, and I've said it was a mistake. And I had good friends like Vice President Biden who were with me, and I had good friends who were on the other side. And I think part of what certainly